주로는 뭐 정말 배워서 가시들에 서대가 두기지 내가 거기 다 왕망보쇼요 이것도 시합 시고요 내가 시고 왕 망보쇼 그건 말이 균어들이 남색성부터 들리라고요 때문에 말이 이 마그 마 용기 따와는 거 말이 들이 저한테는 마그 따고요 왕그 피용되는 때와이 대회더니 다 소탈 것들은 나와리 쭉 소종탱이 제고요래 소종제 가려야 되네 산촉심 갖고 기업에 쓰는 문제탐지 아소 드니 동네 그저 먹이 왔다지 파종 소종지 지금 하고 소종 초대 저 받아 왕지 강내들 왕지 그래서 릉하 이성 그거는 기와름나 릉하 이성 그거는 좋고요. 먹이와름나 릉하 이성 그거는 좋고요래. 먹이와지나 다다 먹이와 총총 저저는 기와처럼 망버티 동행 좀 먹이 좀 먹이와는 저 동행도 기와처럼 먹는 정도요래. 근데 기와름나 기와 되더니 도마기와 바르기와 타마기와 제들이 기와 내라 텐데라 랑나피바 이는데와 기와 체라 탐지를 양내는 내가 소리게 되와 타톡 사지 고마 토고요 돼 기와다 먹기와니 이와 체니 기와 자와데 양강양도 쏘와다 먹기와 막 용아 이제 슬랍받아서 왕게들 용아 이송건 소종 초단 말이 들 왕대 저도 망보쇼도 로만이 님바탐지 땡은이 약보리
Dashidela to all my Dharma friends who came here. Thank you so much for coming here and receiving the empowerment. And many of you have received so many empowerments before. And often actually that shows that you really possess great wisdom. Because sometimes people say that you shouldn't receive too many empowerments, because whenever you receive an empowerment, then you also must observe the samaya. So it is, however, not true that you should not receive many empowerments. It is good to receive the empowerment. And so actually I myself do not have much learning, but through the various questions that arise, I research various questions, and so I came across text that discusses the benefits of receiving the empowerment. And so based on that, I learned the benefits of the empowerment. So from the Pratimoksha perspective, there's a practice called the purifying and restoring, or the sojong, that we practice 2 times a month according to the Pratimoksha. And so what is the benefit of that? What is purified and what is restored in this sojong practice? What is restored is one's bodhicitta, one's virtue, one's merit. And what is purified are all the causes of suffering, the negative deeds and so on. So that is according to the sutra path. And according to the tantric path, actually it is said that the supreme sojong, or the purifying and restoring practice, according to the tantric system, is the empowerment. And when we receive the empowerment, we practice virtue with body, speech, and mind. If we, on the other hand, and that is always virtues. On the other hand, if we engage in non-virtuous actions with body, speech, and mind, then even the slightest negative action will lead to much suffering throughout many future lifetimes. One non-virtue leads to more non-virtue, and so there is endless suffering in future lifetimes. But the virtue, when we practice virtue, it is always good. It is good in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. or it is said it brings great benefit in this lifetime, it benefits yourself, and it brings happiness to others. And as a result, again and again, from lifetime to lifetime, temporarily you will be born in the higher realms and ultimately attain enlightenment as a result. So in general, there are many different divisions of virtue and non-virtue. But during the sojong, or when we receive an empowerment, what we restore are those rules of virtue, and what we purify in the sojong are all those non-virtuous actions. And so in particular, according to the secret mantra vehicle, the greatest form of doing that, of purifying and restoring or practicing sojong with body, speech and mind, is receiving an empowerment. So many of you, of the senior disciples, have received many empowerments before, and I think that is a very good thing.
诸位法友，大家吉祥如意！谢谢大家今天来参加这个灌顶。那么在场很多人以前应该都已经受过灌顶，也代表你们有大智慧，才会来参加受灌顶的法会。有些人有些人有提到说，他们听人讲说不应该随便受灌顶，为什么呢？因为当你受灌顶的时候，应该持守三昧耶戒。那我认为这种看法是见解是不正确的。因为我自己虽然是没有学习那么多，可是因为种种因缘的关系，我看到了种种有描述有关受持这个灌顶的有所利益的文，所以呢我对灌顶的这个利益深具信心。从声闻缘觉乘的角度来讲的话，灌顶呢它具有两层的意义，而且声闻缘觉乘的这个修法来讲，每一个月他们要2次的忏摩。那忏摩它有2层的意义，第一是净化的意义，第二个是重整的意义。那净化什么呢？净化是所有负面的行为，不善之行。重整什么吗？重整我们自己的菩提心。所以在密续里面，我们提到说，最无上的忏摩就是灌顶。当我们接受到灌顶的时候，我们要练习用身口意来练习种种的善行。可是如果是我们身口意有不善行的话，那我们来世会遭受许多的痛苦。当然我们行善的话，将来是受生为好报。那行善这个当然是不管是初也好，中也好，后也好，一开始中间跟未来之后呢，都是很好的。不但在这一世能够利益自己，为他人也能够带来快乐，甚至是世世能够受生善道，终究得以证悟。所以大致上来讲，我们的行为可以分成善跟不善。我们所谓的忏摩要重整的是什么呢？就是重整我们善根善行之根。那我们要净化的是什么？是净化我们的不善行。所以最好的这个来重整的一个方法，就是透过灌顶的方式。所以这个在老生在受到这个很多许多的灌顶，应该对这边有相当清楚的了解。我在这边再大致的跟大家解释一下。
等于开始个抓那里利用不着嘞，大体送的是往的就是选了东马西呢，你从他要买的，往的各处各类没有的批发看有嘛，东大西过来是，这批发有嘛，你说就没钱得了，大家说让你出进去马腾呢，这里看样批个有嘛，你说我第二日没到，这里往的平庸这些那些都往头呢没钱得了，刚样样子里嘛头那样，这里他啥的这把咱们几年，这马咱们就那个来从了，这里没得计划两个的呢。这往的恰当的你把别人呢，你要是你头发家的，你把个的这咱们民族上民族往的嘞，这家里个民族呢，这甚至他们就看一些特色你不一般，但这里两个女的就往啊了，咱们就往啊的， 甚至个愿望啊的、参加个仪式啊的，这上去这话全部来的，比如这个是如果中华啊的，如果中华啊的了，这什么愿望帮啊有嘞，愿望帮啊这家里没那什么仪式啊就多有嘞，变了烧有个没多大的这里。这愿望的，中华啊，这上去没多不烧到吃的有呗，这里甚至这特色人不人呗。这了这呢，这里往这他们这种的，这里边那个的什么多把上，这里就两个这里民上多的。
And so also sometimes people mention that a different perspective, and they say that it is good to receive an empowerment. It is true, but however, when you receive an empowerment, or also when you receive a teaching, it is important that you understand the meaning. And if you don't understand the meaning of the empowerment or a teaching, then it is of no benefit. And so on the one hand, they are right, you do need to understand the meaning, and that is true. But then they also have the view that, and if you don't understand the meaning and don't practice in this lifetime, if you don't practice perfectly in this lifetime, then the empowerment and the teachings have been completely useless. And so that is also actually not true. That is taking it too far. Also in a text that explains the benefits of receiving the empowerment extensively, it says that if you only receive an empowerment and actually never end up practicing this empowerment your entire life, if you only give rise to devotion, to faith, and recite the mantra a minimum of time, then after 7 lifetimes, the power of this empowerment will ripen, and then you will be able, in this future life, you will be able to engage in practice. And that is why it is referred to as the ripening empowerment. It ripens throughout several lifetimes, even if you do not actually have an opportunity to practice in this life. So what does it mean to ripen? All sentient beings possess Buddha nature, and their bodies consist of the 5 elements. Within their minds, there are the 5 afflictions. And these elements and afflictions are strongly related to the 5 wisdoms of the Buddhas. So when these ripen, when the 5 afflictions in the mind ripen, they transform into the 5 wisdoms. It is a progression like from a seed to a sprout to a fully blossomed flower. So the elements and the afflictions are like the seed that still has to ripen. So it is because sentient beings possess Buddha nature, only due to that fact it is so beneficial to receive the empowerment. And only if one receives an empowerment, then only having received an empowerment, then there is no way back. One will not again return, but one will continue to ripen throughout 7 lifetimes.
那么也有人有这样子的见解，就是说当然你受到这个灌顶是好的，可是如果说你受到灌顶或者是法教你不了解的话，你不了解这个灌顶的意义，这样子对你来讲是没有利益的。那当然我们能够对灌顶的内容能够了解是非常好，但是如果说因为你不了解就灌顶完全没有意义，这种讲法也是不对的。我在看经文的时候也有看到说，如果说一个人受到的灌顶，但是在这一生没有办法修行的话，只要他具有虔诚心跟信心，并且持咒到达最基本的次数的话，那么他在7世之内呢，当他业果成熟，他就可以自然会开始修这个法，自然可以得到这个利益。所以这样的缘故，我们也把这种的灌顶称为熟成的灌顶。那我们到底要是让什么东西成熟呢？我们都知道众生皆具这个佛性，但是因为我们自己的执着而障碍住了。那因为我们内心的状态能够成熟呢，要经过一个阶段的过程。比如说一个 花的种子，在花的种子里面，其实就含藏了花盛开的那种的种种条件。那么从种子要开始慢慢发芽到长成花苞，到最后到盛开的花。那这就像众生有佛性一样，当你受到灌顶的时候，就自然只会往前进，也就是你的种子慢慢条件成熟的时候，自然会长成花苞到盛開。所以因为这样的缘故，我们讲是这个要成熟这个佛性。
我是在大龙塔，我这马巴罗大个的马拉里巴拉送来，火烧我，这边龙名啊，蛮不错的，因为马巴罗大个马拉送的，你连续就碰不的，马多就那容易路，那他东西得人用，多那啥个送足的，这样的了，这些名啊，这些名啊，比那啥就呢。你正好出头就好学个的，那就是小娃嘛的，你往大人节把的，你往大人节的呢，3个大嘛，那这个大嘛3个大嘛3你往个大嘛的，你往个大嘛的是哪差的，大嘛的，这他们你嘛的，这里大人节的这里他都两个的上节不干呢。这里大不一律的，这里家冲到了，多当你把多就拉手把长嘛有吧，这里我等起码找完家冲到了这里肉，来个大不行哈，他们家冲到了的，查安个这里建设样没吧，碰着样没吧，这个没吧，这位这里这他们去送这啥我去就是我们老了的，还可以有来的。
There is one quote that explains this in very simple terms. And that was an instruction by Marpa given to his disciple Milarepa. And actually he gave him many instructions. There are many quotes, but this particular one makes this point, presents this point very easily. So Marpa said to Milarepa, the aggregate of the substantial body, if not realized, consists of the 4 elements, is a body consisting of 4 elements. And then it becomes the cause, the source of all suffering, pain, and illness. But when you realize its nature, then it becomes it becomes one with the form of the deity, the body of the deity. So that means that when you realize the nature of your body and mind, when it ripens, when your body and mind ripen, then they transform into the nature of the deity. Also, another Siddha has said, when a yogi dies, a yogi doesn't actually die, but a yogin dissolves into the subtle, refined essence of the 5 elements. So there is the refining of the mind. So when the self-grasping transforms or becomes the most subtle essence of self-grasping of the mind itself actually is a mind of bodhicitta. So the refined essence of the 5 elements, the gross elements, are the 5 afflictions. And when the afflictions become purified into their refined essence, they become the 5 wisdoms. And ultimately, these 5 wisdoms ripen into the form of the Sambhogakaya. And that is an illusory, pure form that is like a rainbow in the sky, a rainbow body, that possesses all the enlightened qualities, such as the 10 powers and so forth. But it does not possess any substance, any material characteristics. And that is the nature of all the enlightened forms or the Pure Lands. They appear like rainbows in the sky. And their nature is beyond birth and death. Their nature is unchanging. They never change or decline in any way. They remain always as they are. So this is a way in which we can easily understand how we actually ripen. So this quote comes actually from the 100,000 songs of Milarepa that we often read.
在过去马尔巴大师对他的弟子弥勒日巴有一个很简单的这个话语。当然马尔巴大医师在他一辈子有许许多多的话语，但是这个特别是跟我们今天要讲的是有相关的，就是所有我们身体的各种运呢，当我们为证悟之前是由四大所组成的，那它就成为所有痛苦病痛的来源。可是当我们证悟了知的时候，它们就是本尊的本性。那么也有另外一个大成就者有这样子的讲法，说有成就的这个瑜伽士，当他要入灭的时候，事实上他是不死的，只是说他的这个细致细微的这种五大元素，从这个很细微的这种执着转化成这种菩提心。在比较粗厚的这种执着呢，也就是五种烦恼，经过净化之后就转成五种智慧，那再演化出报身来利众。那什么叫做报身呢？报身就是纯净的幻身幻化之身，可是它同时具足实力等等种种的功德，那它本身是没有实际的形象的，实质的形象的，就好像空中的彩虹一般，它本质是无生无灭，不改变也不毁坏，它永远都是就存在在那里，永远就是那样子的。在这个点呢，在弥勒日巴的10万道歌里面曾经有这样子的讲法。
那个往过了讲呢，在20年去过嘞，往个东大西从啊，你他们这样就叫把让个往里啊有嘞，这个是咋把那个不阳光东啊，这种让个往里啊有嘞，这搞的些呢的呢。你那个生活的，去个南跨岛，龙个家从岛的呢，那个sem的搞的这，所以sem出大过来，所以sem，上东sem怎么的，那个sem的运气不来的，sem的节省没不sem的好过呢，你这种三day有的平时这玩意儿啦，3day有了，那就这玩全部有的，这玩有的，这每个同样有嘛吧。我第一天拉上去，这运气不到的呢，拉上去，突出个南跨到的呢，这龙个家从到的，这南京个的生活的所个说话当然用这个有的，他当我说往哥们他们，看那种个马清着我的，就说了就他东你拉的呢有的，看到这里种我不接的，这里没就是拉东大哈工，说句说话到，说句往里，说句拉人对话接。这样子，我说的我说每个人从那肉的做起么的，身的做起么的呀，身做起么的，身没得肉的没啥当有了。因为呢，那个身的这些有嘛，这些没同看的，我这些没不同呢，当地有嘛，当地面你是没被去的，这些没法的。这个啥身为7几米的，这些没把，真是理论没把做一些不啥的，这啥他们这身一把的，一把他们去，两把他们去这种这个的，这让人说个说话的，往他们这种我估计他们这种的，这说让个说话的呢，这让人去拉人这话去，另外一生，肉个这个白家用，那个那个白家用，这身上就是这个当地用，这另外一说让脏嘛说，你妈这个说。卡出来呢，就是阿拉达过来家过别的他娘你见原来的了什么人这个娘你见，这嘛见了这你把娘我有嘛嘞，咖喱在里讲些吧呢，这说起娘你见的忙过了，说往里说话的，那个生活的让皮的有嘞的，那块卡着差的有嘞的，变成么那里把空心的别的他妈他这打起来就偷的，起来马下来，抽个起来马下来我记得。 코 속에 돌아서는 샘드나 용왕을 가 잡대로지. 딱벌 주소라 냠대로지. 용왕을 가 잡대로지. 샘세지요 말이죠. 뺏어다. 그거 좋다다. 우리 샘드 시점에 하고는 머리는 샘드 쪽으로 들라 소왔다면 라 샘드 가리리 삼인계리. 삼인계도 속이 주라고 하는데 무슨 나디니 보래. 들이 내가 핀바 타톡 되게 저 산속 샘조를 뭐지에서 되게 들살 리와이도 사 샘디 나빠야고 야고에 되게 왕지당 저시 망보땡하 고요래 되게 던져 좋아 같이 오더라 그래서 다다 참말 설린다 되게 같이 좋아 빼야고 저도 변나 이 다다 나 doktor 남자마디 저팀 좀 진주세다래지 야, 가을이 삼산이 찍는 가래리도 저양도 와. 진짜 어디 삼산이 찍는 이 팀아 이완데 삼산 때 인식부 똑똑하지. 산지 동디는 이거 똑똑히 자자를 잘 마송이들이 좀 하던 사치 못했다 그래서 산지 똑똑하나 여기를 자세다 그래. 삼산이 찍는 저도 송구요래. 이 로지 되니까 셀로 되지. 로맨티 잡사만 보여래. 그봐 장미 봐라. 저봐 장미 봐 배워야 돼. 생구 윤지 봐라. 이제 좀 semre지.
So then, when we receive an empowerment, we also need to know how to properly engage in practice, how to properly practice after having received the empowerment. So, in fact, when we really understand the meaning of the empowerment, then we will actually naturally keep our samaya by just knowing the real meaning of the empowerment. And then from there on, we can actually take the empowerment for ourselves, like a self-empowerment. For example, in the white Sambala practice, the summoning of good fortune practice, there is a section where we take a self-empowerment when we recite this section. And so this is a way to connect to the blessings of the deity. And actually the blessings of the deity are always present. The Dharmakaya nature of the deity always abides expansive like space. And the deity appears like a rainbow in the sky. And if we try to connect to the deity's mind, we must actually look into our own mind, the nature of our own mind. The nature of our own mind is clear, conscious, and empty. And that is what we need to clearly see. And that nature of mind actually is the mind of the deity. That mind itself is beyond birth and death. So if we want to understand the nature of the deity's mind, we need to understand the nature of our own mind. And so then within that mind of the deity, there is great love, just like the love we have for each other. There is great love and compassion. And the great love of the deity is not something that we can see with our eyes, but it is very powerful. That is what we refer to with the power of all the Buddhas. It is the power of their great compassion. So the mind of the deity always abides like space, the Dharmakaya. And its form appears as a Bhogakaya, like a rainbow. And that is ever present. And therefore, whoever supplicates to the deity will naturally receive their blessings, because the deity is always present. So when we receive an empowerment, it is like just being introduced to the way the deity is, like recognizing somebody, like somebody we haven't met before, or like introducing you, when somebody cooks something, for example, this is how it is. For example, this is how the deity is, this is how it looks, that's the color, and so on. So we are really only introduced to the deity, so we understand the deity. And so once we have received this introduction or the empowerment, then we can also take later on in the future a self-empowerment, and in this way always connect to the deity. For example, when we think about a person has a body and a mind. And what is more important here? Who is really the person? It is actually the mind and not the body, because the body will in the end become a corpse and be burned away by fire. But the mind of the deity, the mind can never die. The mind is never born and it never dies. And when we realize that there is no actual self. We realize non-duality. So the non-dual wisdom realizes that there is no birth and there is no death. And that is the mind of the deity, that always remains as it is, without arising and without decline. That is the nature of the wisdom deity. And that is the single basis of the mind of all the deities. So it is said within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the deities, all the Buddhas are one. And so therefore, once you have received an empowerment, you can always take a self-empowerment by supplicating to the deity. And in this way, always in the future also connect to the deity's body, speech, and mind. And so when we connect to the deity's body, when we practice the body or visualize, we purify the imprints of the body. When we recite the mantra, we purify the imprints of the speech. And when we cultivate bodhicitta in the mind, we purify the imprints of the mind. And that we can do, and that is what we have to do each and every day. It is necessary to train continuously. Just like certain other activities that we need to do every day, for example, eating or like shaving our beard and so on, all of these things we need to always continue to do. Otherwise, there will be less benefit of having done the practice. So it is something that we need to do on an ongoing basis in the future. And therefore, we should continue to take the self-empowerment, which is the supplication to the deity, and then thereby receiving the blessings of the deity. And the blessings of the deity are always naturally present, pervading everywhere where there is space. When Milarepa, just before Milarepa passed away, his disciples were crying and they said, "You are a Mahasiddha, you should not die, please do not die." And Milarepa responded, "Actually, it is just my body that perishes. The mind actually cannot die, and the mind will continue to pervade the 5 elements. Therefore, I am always together with you, because my mind actually cannot die." So this is a point that we need to understand, that the mind can actually not die. And of the body and the mind is principle. So the deity's mind is, in brief, a mind of love and compassion. That is the antidote to self-grasping. And that is the cause for the temporary benefit and ultimate happiness, which is why we call it the precious bodhicitta. That is the one thing that we need to hold on to. So you have received many empowerments before and many explanations, but this is really the most important point to take. And it came up recently in a question, and that really is the answer to all the questions. And many of the questions are really excellent, but this really covers it. And so now coming to the Namgyalma or Ushnisha Vichaya empowerment, she is also a form of Tara. She is one emanation, one aspect of Tara, and she's also one of the 21 Taras. In the praises to the 21 Taras, it is the 4th one. In our Tara text, it says, "Homage to you, Tara, the crowned pinnacle of those thus gone, whose deeds overcome infinite evils, who has attained transcendent perfections without exception, and upon whom the sons of the victorious ones rely." So this crowned pinnacle of those thus gone, that is the Ushnisha Vichaya. Because she was the Tara that appeared above the Buddha's crown, at the crown pinnacle of the Buddha. So therefore she is called the Ushnisha Vichaya, or the crown pinnacle one. And so we come next to the particular historical background of this deity. So again, she is a form of Tara, and Tara has many different names and appears in many different ways. For many countless aeons, Tara appeared in many countless forms. However, the continuum of her mind is always the same. It is the mind of Tara.
当我们接受灌顶的时候，我们应该要知道怎么样的用适当的方法来修法。那么事实上，如果说你能够了解这个灌顶的意义的话，你自然就可以持守这个三昧耶，也能够了解三昧耶的意义，甚至可以自己灌顶，就好像在招来善缘好运的白财神里面的法本有讲到后半段就是自灌的部分。那么因为我们这样子，我们其实就是连接跟本尊的加持连接在一起的。那在世界上种种的这个化身，那本尊就好像在彩虹一般在空中这样出现。那我们要做的事是往内观照，来看自己内心的本质。我们心的这个本质就是本尊的心的本质。如果我们想要了解本尊的心的话，应该对自己的心性要更加了解，从那边做开始。本尊的爱是非常的广大的，没有办法用我们的肉眼来见得到，同时它具有大力，它也始终存在那里，有像如同法身常在一样。那它可能以报身种种不同形象的报身来化现出来。当我们受到灌顶的时候，我们通常会介绍本尊的一些历史缘由啊，这样子的做法主要就是好像我们第一次见到一个某人的话，彼此来做介绍一般。当对他的基本有所了解的，我们就可以认识这个就是这一个人。那这个样子做之后，将来可以自己给自己灌顶，而能够永远跟本尊连结在一起。当然对一般凡人来讲，我们有我们的身体，我们有我们的心，那到底哪一个才是真正的那一个人呢？那才是我们真正的我呢？是我们的身体呢，还是我们的心？这两者比起来，我们的心是更重要的。因为有一天我们身体会灭亡，可是我们的心是不死的，因为我们的心是一个无二的这个智慧，它能够了解无生无灭的道理。这个其实也就是本尊的心，它既不升起也不毁坏，这是所有本尊的共同有的这个一心。那在本初的状态当中，所有的本尊都是合为，都是一同的。只要我们能够虔诚祈请呢，我们可以跟本尊的身口意能够连接。在灌顶之后呢，我们修持这个升起次第观本尊呢，来净化我们的身体的这个业障，透过持本尊的咒语净化我们因为语而累积的一些障碍，透过修持菩提心呢，可以净化我们因为意而产生的一些染污跟障碍。那当然我们可以每天在日常生活中不断的来做修行，不管是我们在做不同刷牙洗脸走路等等的，我们都可以把握时机来修行，这样自然有大利益。要不然的话，如果说你不是修持的很精勤，那也不是很持续的话，你的利益也是有，但是毕竟是有限的。那么我们通常我们在祈请本尊的时候，我们要祈请本尊，然后要受持本尊的这个加持。我知道说本尊的加持是无所不在的。我们在过去弥勒日巴祖师他将要受尽的时候，将要过世的时候呢，他的弟子在旁边哭得非常的伤心，而对他讲说：“您是一个大成就者，你不应该会死的。”那弥勒日巴祖师就跟他讲说：“要死的是我的身体，不是我的心。我的身化成世界的五大元素，充满这个法界。我的身体虽然亡了，可是我的心是不死的。这个心也就是本尊的心，也就是慈悲心，它是特别用来对治我们的我执的。不能够有慈悲心的话，自然能够有暂时以及就近的利益。菩提心、慈悲心是我们要学习、要练习的。那我们 这可能在这一世受到许许多多的灌顶，可是这一点是非常重要的。你能够了解到这一点，自然会有许许多多的利益。我们今天要传的是尊胜佛母。那尊胜佛母其实是度母的化身之一，它是属于21度母之一，也就是第4位度母，第4尊度母。在我们的度母21礼赞里面有这样子的寄颂来礼赞他：顶礼如来，顶记佛母，浩瀚无边尊胜行母，正德无余波罗蜜多，诸佛之子最爱依母。这就是讲到尊胜佛母的这个功德。那它的另外一个名字就是Ushnisha。那它因为是从佛的顶记出来，所以它有一个特别的名字，就是顶记佛母。等一下我们会介绍它的这个历史的背景跟缘由。那它是属于21度母的第4尊。它度母虽然在外相上有许许多多不同的形象、不同的名字，但是他们的心都是一同的，他们的心都是度母。
So the history of Ushnisha Vichaya. This goddess is the essence of the victorious Amitayos. However, in order to make accomplishment easy without practicing secret mantra, it is taught that one should rely upon the Dharani mantra made by this goddess. Furthermore, when the Bhagavan Shakyamuni was residing in Indra's fine Dharmagodram, there was one called Devaputra the Brave. He became attached to the enjoyments of the gods who gave no thought to death. One night he heard a voice saying, "After 7 days you will die. Then you will take birth as 7 types of beings. Even if you are born as a human, you will be blind and impoverished." When he heard this, he became extremely terrified and besieged his father, Indra Kaushika. With his clairvoyance, Indra could see that his son would die and then successively take birth as a dog, fox, monkey, snake, vulture, crow, a blind man, and so forth. Having seen this, Indra quickly picked up a collection of offerings, offered them to the Bhagavan, and prostrated to him. Praying that the Buddha would help Devaputra, Indra requested a method to liberate from suffering. From the crown protuberance of the Bhagavan, light radiated. It illuminated the world, and then the light disappeared into the Buddha's mouth. As soon as this happened, the Buddha said, "This mantra of Ushnisha Vijaya completely clears away the lower realms." At that time, even the Lord of Death, the King of Dharmas, rejoiced. Ushnisha Vijaya promised to protect sentient beings who possessed this mantra. Devaputra then became one of the long-lived gods. The door to the lower realms was closed. The enlightenment of the Bhagavan was foretold. The Ushnisha endowed with these qualities belongs to the Tathagata family, Kriya Tantra. As soon as the Dharani mantra is uttered, all the Buddhas will guard and protect one's lifespan from being exhausted or shortened. The abodes of the lower realms will be emptied, and the door to the pure realm of Sukhavati will be opened. All will be born there, and so forth. It is taught that there are limitless benefits.
有关真圣佛母的历史缘由如下。这个佛母基本上是尊圣的长寿佛的具有长寿佛的本质。为了要能够非常的利益成就众生，即使不透过这个密咒修持呢，那这么样的一个行者，所有的行者可以依据修持这个佛母的这个陀罗尼咒语而得到利益。再者，当年世尊居住在第10天的天国的时候，那有一个天王叫做Devaputra 勇者，那他耽于五欲之乐，享受天界的种种欲乐， 那么从来没有想到死亡这件事情。可是有一天晚上呢，他听到一个声音对他讲说，7天之后你将死亡，那么死亡之后你将会受生着7种不同的生灵，然后最后虽然你身为人身，你也会变成一个瞎眼的人，而且一生非常的贫困潦倒。当这个Devaputra 听到这个事情的时候，他变成极度的恐慌，并且向他的父亲第4天王来祈求。那第4天透过他的天眼呢，来看到他的儿子在这一世死亡之后呢，接着会有先生为狗，然后再生为狐狸，再生为猴子，然后再生为蛇，然后再生为秃鹰，再生为那个乌鸦，最后再生为一个瞎眼的人等等。那看到这些景象之后，这个第4天就赶快的收集所有的一些供养之物，并且供养给这个薄伽梵，也就是佛陀，然后对他顶礼，祈求佛陀会协助他的儿子Devaputra， 并且这个第4天对佛陀祈求有什么样的方法能够来解脱他的儿子，让他不要受这些苦。在这个时候，从佛陀的肉髻顶上的肉髻呢放光，然后照耀了整个世界，然后光再收摄回来，消失在自己这个佛陀的嘴巴之中。当这样子的情况发生的时候，那个佛陀就宣告说，这个咒语就是尊胜佛母的咒语，它能够完全净除这个恶道之因在这个时候，甚至连阎魔始祖也都随喜这样子的一个景象。那么尊胜佛母呢，就发愿来保护所有的众生，持守他的这个咒语的一些众生。那么那个时候 Devaputra 的天王，他也变成了一个长寿天之一。不但说下三道的门被关闭了，那么持守这个的话，这个佛陀玩正悟的佛陀就这样子的宣说，往三恶道的这个门会关闭。那这个尊胜佛母具足的这些他的这些功德呢，是属于这个瑜伽密续这方面的一个功德。那当他的有人持诵他的陀罗尼咒的时候，所有的诸佛都会同时来保护，来护卫这一个行者的这个生命，让他不会消逝，或者是让他不会变得短寿。那往下三道的这个三界呢，这个都会净空，往极乐净土的这个门会打开。一个人这个修持这一个法门的人就可以往生这个极乐净土。那在过去有这样子的教授说，这种法门有无量的利益。
嗡贝达萨多萨玛呀玛呢巴拉呀贝达萨多提诺巴这扎真罗梅巴瓦苏德卡哟梅巴瓦苏格扎哟梅巴阿达拉多梅巴瓦萨瓦特德梅巴耶达萨瓦萨梅阿特达比扬古罗红火巴卡这瓦达达嘎达贝达巴梅门达贝达巴瓦玛什么萨多我们说瓦达达嘎达贝给嘎达什么呀？这个也我瓦贝尼达达王贝我们说不觉得说说不觉得我怎么干了？我们说不觉得也家就那就那我们。我说了，我多的些，我没有说没的话，就把一切的嘛，那我那咱家把就嘛个什么个说的， 阿弟那边的这种嘛，往北走啊，那么走啊，那个阿瓦罗个的我们什么了什么了，红那么走啊，那个阿瓦罗个的我们什么了什么了，那么走啊，那个阿瓦罗个的我们什么了什么了，哦，对，就把这就把了啥子了，对，就把东西都把了啥。对，就把关键没了啥子了，对，就把你就把他别的样子了啥子了，刚就怎么就把那么就啥子，什么就的，用心给把从来当这到多嘛那我就叫了把他这些么的就把那个过去了，你把啥把就把这随便那边这些就把这这了去住这些样子，怎么了他妈就把过来就把往。这种这样长这样中间没就刚刚没有做了，刚刚这样那别了，既然你把马姐我们全部就刚才别了，那个玩意儿别的都做了，东就让个那次的差不多那个咱没有我们什么红长了不要，我那要火把干不要让要红的。介绍我你妈我他妈要早上这啥都接的，就把我这怎么整都就给他等下那老是我都就他去，逻辑从当中就多几找就没得对，这多几找吧，这都西北帮啊，把他们把怎么就怎么样，我就我们在那边的包外面那边的。不打这个，别打了，下来都了，长，我们不打都了，按那个红，但那看那样不生病，他们这看什么生病，他们这东西找当地人呗，人去年你玩过说，他们这他妈没啥搞的，没啥的，这种当地人包的，哦，这看什么生病，当地人看是当地就办的。这考试成绩他们当地人说，当地要不得了，这他妈不有的，他妈当地没把饮品就落有，是头上的，当地养不的饮品落是头过，他同样是打过来。
The root of suffering of all sentient beings, limitless as space, in the three realms of samsara, is self-grasping. And so whenever we receive a Dharma teaching, or we practice the Dharma, or we receive an empowerment and so on, we always offer a mandala. The mandala offering is the antidote to self-grasping. The self-grasping of all sentient beings of the three realms in samsara and our own self-grasping is exactly the same. So mentally gather all that self-grasping and think that you're offering it up to the Buddhas. And then think that all sentient beings have become free of self-grasping and they all have received the altruistic mind of the Buddhas. Actually, that is the best business that we can do. We are giving up our self-grasping, and in return we get the altruism of the Buddhas.
三界众生，无量如虚空的这些众生呢，受苦之源都是一样的，都是来自于我执。当我们学法修法的时候，净化我执一个很好的方便的法门就是供曼达。对治我执的呢，对治能够断除这个三界的这个轮回的，就是去掉我执，那把这个自己心中的这个我执积攒起来，甚至积攒所有众生的我执放在一起，把它供养出去，那这是一个非常方便的这个法门。事实上，这个有非常大的利益功德的。
37 mandala offering， 为请求灌顶，共37公曼达拉。Om Banza Sado Samaya Manobalaya Banza Sado De Noba De Dana No Me Bava Sado Goyo Me Bava Subajayo Me Bava se de me baya za sarva karma su so me za da she yang guru hong ha ho banga sarva da da ga da ba za ma me me ben za ba wa ma samma sa do om ben za be me a wo ye nam ba da ba wan jin se je sa ye om ben za re ke a wo se ja ren ko yo ge yong sa ko we wes on la re ye ja bo re ra ya le ba bo lo zong be le na ba lam da me nye yar de le dan le ba lor nga ya da nga ya ye nup de yo den da lam jon ro sang de da me nye da me nye je da Rinpoche ye re wo pa sam je yen den jo ye pa ma me pa ye lo do ko lo Rinpoche no Rinpoche Tsemo Rinpoche Lempo Rinpoche Lampo Rinpoche Tamjo Rinpoche Mapon Rinpoche Terjempo ye Pompai Ge Mo Man Tenwa Ma Le Mai Karma Medo Nazar Mai Terjama Nye Ma Dawai Rinpoche Do Sole Namba Jave Jam Se Wasala Dhamma Yapam Pasan Sopa Masa Wame Hienka Namba Dapan Denye Gaya Hienka Yadan Tome Parden Lama Dambe Shabdon Dame Se Jawan Korsam Yave Yontam Parvar Jawa Tojen Dove Tanda Yesasa Yene Senje Labdo Sor Saye Puje Soye Medoda Rara Lenye Nye De Jembande Sanje Yenla Parvaye Doga Namda Yengde Jewar Yo Kosan Yonzo Lame Zonam La Zenai Sansen Te Yen Ye Jen Yo Dale Lonje Nansi Yon Ye La Lamen Joga Ngada Sardo So Garande Wanda Gane Rana Mandala Rade So
땡겨 남카라 또 놈들이 나발이 잡아 쏘보좀 했더니 속도 뒤좀 상지에 상지 냠도 되네 좀 홍만이 배비 어디지 진당이 나한테 상지에 가서 강조 선진 상지를 냠데 차바빠봤는 요 왕고 그러고서 되니 쏘아다고 그래야지.
So then next think that in the space before you appears principally the deity Ushnisha Vichaya, and think that she is surrounded by all the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times that gather around her like clouds. And then think that like rain falling down, they confer empowerment, and you receive the empowerment together with all sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara. So in their presence, we need to supplicate.
那接下来的观想是在我们面前的虚空的主尊，就是尊胜佛母，在他周围有十方三世诸佛围绕。那么如种种他们降下种种的如雨下了种种这个加持，作为这个 这个灌顶的这个证明，那与所有的一切这个虚空的一切众生虔诚来做祈请。
观心也是蓬勃经400可罗Namgyalma 대人700Rinpoche作我达拉Garchen
In English, embodiment of omniscient wisdom, who utterly purifies the wheel of existence, compassionately grant me the empowerment of the exalted deity today.
遍知智慧圆满现，珍贵护主，施方便，摧破平息，轮回界，祈请垂赐，降恩德。
棍球生啦大家起得把每个错下若为给了一让上界强求一级中上界去长从着了强求把这大家起让进动你入事强求sem呢几把几强求错给sem呢几几呢sem几탐제 다기 롱더니얼 장첩 좀초 이용 제발지 로라 핌서 상제 럽발쇼
I take refuge
I take refuge
in the three jewels
in the three jewels
and confess
all
all unvirtues
unvirtues
and harmful deeds.
and harmful deeds.
I rejoice in the virtues of beings and hold the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dear to my heart until attaining enlightenment. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly in order to fully accomplish the purpose of others and myself. I shall give rise to bodhicitta, having given rise to the supreme mind of enlightenment. I welcome all sentient beings. I will practice the supreme bodhisattva conduct that is pleasing to all. May I attain enlightenment for the benefit of all beings.
最上三宝，我归依，一切罪业皆忏悔，众生善根尽随喜，正觉菩提意中持，诸佛正法 即生劫，直至菩提，永归依。所谓利益，自他故。我今即发菩提心，既发最上菩提心，饶益一切诸有情，菩提妙行，乐意行，为利有情，愿成佛。
但是忘记我了解了，让往人边的，当今我那以往看着你从这落出了，差不多有的，但他们让往生活让往人呢，一片落到那一种样的这个意思，这没得九八三波跟着一种嘛，这另外一种九八三七一种嘛，做不忙不用个意思。내가 좀 소리성을 내가 타고는 다도 사지에 고방토는 림보치 그니 대삼제래 주지와 사람만 몰라야 요 말이지 생물하고 왕이 또단 뒤에 이핑을 로지 세면서 거래 대좀들들이 왕 탐시 짜와더니 도고요 이핑 로는 맞았나 이 사공하대 제름 타게 도더라 내가 총총마도 용고요 말이 근데 하장 가르쳐 버려야 돼 왕시면 사바는 오늘 때 뭐로 그래.
So, during an empowerment, we actually need to obtain or receive, cultivate a sort of freedom, or like a self-control or freedom. And so, when there is self-grasping, then naturally we do not have this freedom. Then we are controlled by something else. We lack self-control. And that is then that wandering in the 3 lower realms or the 6 realms of samsara without any control, any self-control. So during the empowerment, we need to obtain that freedom or independence of the mind. And that we obtain by cultivating an altruistic mind. If you have an altruistic mind, you will just naturally accomplish the dual purpose. And so here it said that pleasing to all, a conduct that is pleasing to all. And such a person with an altruistic mind is naturally, their activities and everything they do with body, speech, and mind will be pleasing to others. And they will have many friends and so on. So temporarily it leads to the happiness of the 3 higher realms and ultimately to enlightenment. So the actual precious jewel, what is really precious is this mind of kindness and compassion or love. And that is a mind that once we cultivate it, we will not lose for many lifetimes in the future. So this is how we obtain the freedom of the mind during the empowerment. It is by cultivating an altruistic mind. And actually, if you only hold on to this altruistic mind, then you have obtained the root of all the empowerments of the secret mantra of Vajrayana. That is most important. And if you do not have this altruistic mind, then even if you engage in various other practices like mantra recitation or visualization of deities and so on, the results will be very small. So the altruistic mind is truly very important. And so in case there are a few newer disciples amongst you, it is necessary to clarify this, to introduce this very clearly.
在灌顶之中，我们必须要获得自由。那怎么样的自由呢？就是自我控制的这种自由。那我一般凡夫来讲，我们好自然而然的，因为我们自己的我执就毫无自由了，而被外在的情况所控制，而继续在轮回之中轮转。那么自由呢？就是我们心的这种自由，它是从利他之心而来的。如果我们有利他之心的话，我们自然就可以得到自他 两利的这个目的。自然你的身口意为众生来带来一种悦意的这种经验，暂时来讲可以受生善道，就近来讲可得正得悟。其实真正珍贵的珍宝就是慈爱心，一旦有了，那你就累世，就不会忘失了。如果你有利他之心，那么就可以说是具有密续中的一切灌顶。如果你没有利他之心的话，这虽然你修种种法，观想本尊啊、持咒等等，当然有一些利益，但是它的利益是很小的。这一点呢，特别对这个新来的这个法友呢，我要讲的要澄清清楚。
你把这当作他南北过来说呢，做南把用的搞来有的呢，饮品个落的就不是，饮品个落的用的上当地个种的，你把这还可能别下过来，当地个落的钱用的，我说没说那些那种没去选的，查工的是查的，样的出去选的出大街当啊。查工的查的了，饮品落接到我这上路查的确的，养不了的，查工的说的确的了，我上出生我确的，养去确那的查的了，这大街当时呢，这南部区的用地的种大工了，出去选你把个人都得，看些人说这个当地去上的哩，这个嘞，饮品落用地上当地种的还可能，你们南部区的。平常有哈考的没，这嘛西巴的你去个用的些哈考出去嘛的，还讲Garchen我有嘞子。
So once we have entered the doors of Buddhism, what is actually the most important quality of a Buddhist, of the Buddhist practice? Actually, it is only the altruistic mind. So we should, as Buddhists, we should certainly understand the faults of self-grasping and the qualities of an altruistic mind. So once there is a self-grasping mind, no matter what else we do, it is like the mind is like water, and once there's a self-grasping in the mind, that water becomes hardened like ice. So you can see it for yourself. You should investigate and look into your own mind over and over again. When you really are very clinging to the self, the mind really becomes hard and like a block of ice. And on the other hand, observe your mind how it is when you cultivate altruism. When the mind relaxes, the mind becomes very relaxed and gentle, like free-flowing water. So that is the mind of bodhicitta. It is like the water of a vast ocean. So this is how we can really understand the qualities of the Buddhist practice. And we should not look at the Buddhist qualities or faults in any other way. So the only way to look is within one's own mind. How is it really true when you look into your own mind? For example, some people even commit suicide, and that is because their self-grasping is too strong. So we can see it really by observing our own mind. When you really understand the faults of self-grasping and the qualities of altruism only, then you have truly understood the Buddhist view. And if you do not understand this point, then no matter what else you know about the Dharma, you have not really understood the point of Buddhism, the Buddhist view. So this is really a very important point.
当我们进入佛门，成为佛弟子，最重要的特质是什么呢？就是利他之心。将我执之心转化成利他之心。我们的心就像水一般，当我们有所执着的时候，它就坚固像冰一样。那我们可以在修行的过程中反复的思维自心，是在执着的时候是像坚固如冰。可是如果我们关照利他，在仔细关照的时候，当我们升起利他之心的时候，我们的心自然就放松，变得比较温和柔和，我们的菩提心升起，这样子我们的心就柔软如水一般。 那我们在修行的时候，不应该只求不只看外相，而应该往内来做关照。对于那些自杀的人呢，他们往往是因为自己的执着我执太过强烈了，所以我们应该要往内检视，往内来关照自己之心。当我们能够了解这样子的时候，自然就了解说这个是佛教很重要的一个见地，这一点是非常重要的。
六本공서설 나라 쫀디베 똑돌 남발 열매 고송 톡지 이서 망화 쌀더솔
Master, please think of me. Please bestow upon me the empowerment of body, speech, and mind of the Bhagavati, Noble Lady, Ushnisha Vichaya.
上师请垂见我，赐我薄伽梵，圣女尊胜佛母，之身语欲灌顶。
Zamba Gong Sor Dane Rola Pindong Ze Zuo Jin Chula Sor Nepji Chaje Yishi Ji Ze Sor
Vajra holder, please think of me. I supplicate you, exalted guide, in order to benefit wayfaring beings. Please cause the wisdom mudra to arise.
金刚持，请垂见我，为利我等有情故，祈请至尊护主加持，令生其本质之手印。
이왕이랬는데 나는 돌아 핀도도 하장 남아 침보리 왕저랑 핀고거디 오 이는 핀고 삼지대 특동자대 하장 가르치 못해 하고거래지.
So for each of those empowerments of these applications, there is one line that says, in order to benefit wayfaring beings. So that is a very important line. So we should really be very clear when we receive the empowerment. Is it for our own purpose or for the purpose of others, of sentient beings? So therefore it comes up in all those lines, in order to benefit wayfaring beings.
在这些刚刚我们祈求灌顶的这个祈请文里面，有一个地方非常重要的，都是为利有情故，这个是非常重要的一个地方。我们在接受灌顶的时候，我们应该弄清楚是为了自己还是为了他人。在这边讲的是为利一切有情，所以这一点是非常重要的。
다 저는 소위 럼제 근데 이게 가려는 저게 럼 곰시를 갖다 같이 땀 곰제나 초초그래 대 곰시를 럼지가 돼 배 놀이 팔람도 보고 저렇게 처음 보더니 럼가 보서 딱발 곰 라는 생각하라 그게 세 많이 보도 돼 그래 그래서 이제 땀 맥치에 돼야 되는 데다 거기서 제라놈도 바대 되는 또도 남자만 거 바대라다 바대 세미차 올란디리 뭐라고 시거래 그렇지 막좀 양도에도 고속 찾나 야 맥나들이 소유의 세미차 되나 제발 좀 보여 말해야지.
And so the seed syllable for this deity is the syllable drum, syllable drum. But actually you can also visualize any other syllable, whatever you're used to. So, for example, the other day we have practiced dam. You can also visualize that. Or if you are able to visualize it, then visualize the drum. And so the syllable is like a diamond, brilliant with light and white in color. Visualize it at your heart. And what is most important is to remain undistracted. Have your eyes closed and visualize this. And then later, when I ask you to open your eyes, look directly at the image of Ushnisha Vichaya that you have received and have this appear in your mind. And when it appears in your mind, it is like recognizing the deity, or this is the deity. And then again, you can close your eyes and again visualize the deity in this way. So if the deity's form fully appears in your mind, then that is excellent. But you can also visualize the seed syllable of the deity. There is no great difference.
那这一个本尊它的种子字是 drum， 那你可以观它的种子字 drum， 或者是说其他的种子字都可以。比如说我们前几天在观这个白度母的时候，有它种子字是 dom。那不管你刚drum 也好 dom 也好呢，都是要在你心中这个它光亮，这个种子字放光如钻石一般，非常光亮的白光在你心中不分心。那么你眼睛闭起来这样来观，然后再眼睛再张开，那么你看这个本尊照片。那这样反复的这个练习，一直到本尊的这个形象在你心中非常清晰的出现。你如果能够清晰的观出本尊的全身，当然是非常好的。如果不行的话，你也可以只观它的种子字。
Om Bhini Dalada Om Bhini Soba Chida Zavadana Soba Chida Wa Tumba Chida Chida Tumba Kana Naso Pe Mata Davati Pamle Nabar Java Chutin Japamba Visa Naso Pe Mata Davedina Drum Karabo Yongsa Jaravali Romano Kejika Toto Nabar Java Tajar Karpo Shar Yes Yung Ho Yung Ho Bo Chin Sum Chiva Chive Mam Chutnimba Chive Machinima Nasaye Nato Dorjim Nato Churchi Amapola Nepe Pami Dang Da Chopchi Yung Ye Ding Zo Dang Chebe Chwa Ye Me Je Pe Pam Bam Nam Je Pe Sa Pye Pam Ba Ta Ta Mo Je Je Ta Me Je Ba Zhe Ge Pe Zhuang Zhe Ba Je Je Sen Je Si Wang Zong Si Wang Zong Kum Do Ka Bo Yung Pe Ma Yin Ha Ya Yung Do Sana Dor Je Hong Bo Yung Ba La Ne Be Dor Je Yin Ha Yang Yin Ka Ta Ra Mo Je Je Ba Zheng Dian Jian Hua Xia De Me Yong Ye Ra Zhe Luo De Jiang Mo Ye Jia Zhe Ne De Yung Mo Jin Hong Mo Ye Yu Ba Sang De Do Yin Do Po Jin Ye Dor Je Ye Gang Yung Deng Zhe Jin Ha Gong Dong Hong Bo Jin Dong Jiwa De Yung Jiang Wa Ta Ba Ye Me Li Ba Zha Kan Ba Jin De Di Ba Le Jie Ji Ba Jin Ba Bian Ye Jin Ba Zong Zhe Ge Zong Ze Ne Zang Ma Li Jie Lai Ben Yi Ye De Zhe Gang Me Ba Do Le De Zhe Jun Be Be Ha Lu Si Jin Zhe Le Zong Ba Bi Da Ge Zha Wang Wang Gong Zhuo A Ma Yin Ga Hong Gong Bo De Zong Zhe Be Xi Shen Ba Cong Ni Zhe Le Zhen Zhe Ba De Jin Zhe Le Do Xin Le Kao Ba Zong Ma Zhe Le Sub Sub Zhe Zhen Ba Zhe Ma Om Zhu So Wa Am Zhe Da Ye Da De So Wa Jian Le A Vi Jia A好的，大哥，越干不咋样，他妈要咋回去 생이 와봐 시바네 사종 마섭죠 버도 만영제 땜버도 매매바 땜버지저 띠라면서 다 인생에 거발었다 양상이었다 왕거지라디 소유 때 맞이 받지네 뭐래 세명이 그 말이야.
So now you can open your eyes and look at the image and then repeat this again and again. And throughout the empowerment, do not forget about the seed syllable. Most importantly, remain undistracted.
现在大家可以把眼睛打开，然后看着本尊照。那这样子反复的练习，在我们接下来灌顶的过程当中，这样反复的练习，然后不要忘失这个种子字。
원배다 알로간 바다다서 원배다 그데 바다다서 원배다 내외대 바다다서 도지 진짜 사절아 로와저가 지나와 용진 종래 제다자 제단달라 달라 서로 지에 로모지가 소와다 배자를 너무 고마제 사절 서만을 저래 좋아서 서만을 도저러니요 토마는요 개개 토마는요 저저 화이보다 보면요 토마서 저도 잡지 바디 나도 뭐는 화이보다 고 나도 뭐 잠배 냄지에 바가고 서져서 이제 이제 광세 요르나 토마는 원고면 뭐 왕고도 예전번에 감사바에서 소지 군주 선선다 내려서 와진 바서 오면서 와도 이거다 베게가데 나삼마야제 오면서 다다 가다 베게가데 삼마야 이제 홍 대표 번버쳐 이제 제가 동세가 계속 이 말로 뭐 강의도 남극도 잘 봐봤는지 사이고 집사 종종들이 이제 종는지 잡아봐봤는지 감성 생기다 이제 싸워만 줘 들을 타마 강동 본 거야 돼.
And then when you receive the vase nectar in your palm, then drink half of it and the other half put it onto your crown. And visualize that a rain of nectar showers down from space and in the form of various forms of the deity, large and small, falling down like raindrops. And think that they enter the crowns and the central channels of all the sentient beings in the 3 realms of samsara and fills up their entire body, their bodies.
当你收到这个甘露的时候，在你手掌中收到甘露的时候，你喝一半，然后另一半放在你的顶轮顶冠这边，那么同时观想这个大大小小的本尊呢，如雨降下，从你的所有一切众生的众脉中降下，然后充满加持这些众生。
대단한 왕고에서 시절위에서 저 강을 맞으면 다 쳐야는 맞지도 저말을 이제도 보자와는 거 어지는 보자다가 저거에 왕거라야요 고르제 제라 뭐 바바바나 좀 봐도 벌써 뭐 거기서 로라 이제도 요거 못 맞도 뭐 와다 제 배워다래 저거 인터넷 지가 와라 이제 또 저거 벌써 또 왔다 내래 저 수라지람에다여서 와 대다 이서 나왜 르저고네 썩버 주마 박차 된지도 제가 다그 이서 나와 말이 봐톱 르사이 계는 나동소 요거를 보고 말아 왕데 저거서 바까바진데 제바야노.
Being thus initiated, all defilements accumulated through the body and the habitual tendencies of grasping at them are purified and you have received a complete form empowerment. You are now empowered to visualize your body as the deity, the union of appearance and emptiness. As a result, you are endowed with the fortune to accomplish the Nirmanakaya.
如是得灌顶故，一切因身所积聚之染污习气与执着，皆得清净，获得一切身之加持，得以观修显空双运的本尊升起次第，并种下将来化身成就的种子。
所以就能够到说的话呢，觉得多劫，正八，公所所，大呢，做了，平动者，下级，万根，一息切，木者。德瓦拉座
Vajra holder, please think of me in order to benefit wayfaring beings. Please impart the great wisdom of the mantra empowerment that bestows all accomplishments.
金刚持，请垂见我，我为利益，有情故，其请赐我，与之大智慧，灌顶成就。
真的，我这들어와 지。 또 나가 나만 링기 요르데 사 무슨 적구나 사이고 공지지 제름지 루메 사버리 나도 롱다버리 메도 롱이 카마더와 드니 사이 거지 제지 곰네 드니 가 장가지 땀 범카시 쏜거 요르데 사이 거지 신이 예야메 봐 마차 받더니 가 거기 곰네 사다 생기지 드니 사 예야 말이 받대 마지 바 말이 받더니 가 다고 요래 대예지 장가 채도 정하지 사 무슨 적구나 사 사다 가 송두지는 적고 그래지 사디 무슨 적든나 사디 세미지 와 차르지 사는데 봐 참아 토고 요래 되게 바도는 나만 토고 요래 되게 무슨 적구나 하다 사 송들 거래.
So here it says that bestows all accomplishments or cities. And so here in this context we are receiving the freedom of the speech by reciting the mantra. And so it is said that if we really want to accomplish the deity, we accomplish the deity by reciting the mantra and visualizing the form. The visualization or the creation stage is like fire, and the mantra recitation is like wind. And fire and wind should be together always. So when we practice the deity, we visualize the form and recite the mantra single-pointedly for a certain number of times. There are a few 100,000 mantras that we should accumulate, but actually the point of these accumulations, of these repetitions, is so that we never forget the deity. And basically we have to practice the deity, that is, we have to visualize and recite the mantra until our mind completely merges with the deity's mind. And that is until we never forget about the deity. The deity is always in the mind. And that is the reason why there is such a great number of mantra accumulations to do. So in order to accomplish the deity, we need to recite the mantra and visualize the form of the deity single-pointedly until our mind becomes one with the deity. And then we have actually received freedom. Then we have received freedom in the bardo after death. So when we practice the deity, it is essential to practice the union of the visualization of the deity's form and the mantra recitation.
在这边的刚刚我们念的祈请文里面提到说，得到一切加持成就，在这边有这个我们因为透过持咒而得到语之自在，语的自由。 当我们要成就本尊的时候，我们透过观想本尊之身，或者持诵他的咒语。那当我们因修升起次第观想本尊之身的时候，这个就像火一般，那我们持咒就像风一般，两个加成下来呢，可以让火烧得更大。那当然我们从这个本尊有许许多多不同的本尊，他们的咒语有许许多多不同，我们也要累积非常多次的这个咒语。可是累积这么多次的咒语，主要的要点是在哪里呢？就是要让我们不要忘失本尊，一直到我们的心跟本尊的心完全合而为一，永不分离，所以才要规定说要念这么多次。重点是我们要一心持咒，直至我们跟本尊合而为一，这样子我们可以得到自由或得到自在，在中阴阶段可以得到自由解脱。那么这个以这样子的心来观想，来持咒。
你하는 남 칼이 양 윤도 탐시 차바 바바는 이제 마운디들이 라가 하 이두지 로커디 라가 하 차례를 톱들이 동구살라 하 고리오사 하디바 공고래지.
So then visualize that the syllables of the deity's mantra descend down from space like raindrops falling down. As you repeat the mantra, then think that you have received the mantra garland of this deity around the drum syllable. So then think that the brief mantra of the deity circles around the syllable drum.
接下来我们观想本尊的咒语如就自空中降下如下雨一般，然后我们接受到本尊的咒语的咒曼围绕着我们心中的这个种子自重。
Om Anate Anato Bhave Amnata Bertinte Amnata Garchen Amnata Garchen Amnata Aya Dade Soha Om Amnata Aya Dade Soha Chomdi Daki Zonglachi Dala Nyewar Zetosor.
Conqueror, as I have become your follower, please take me under your care.
薄伽梵，我以您为我之上师，祈请摄受，眷顾我。
좀 뒤들어들어져 달라고 하더라도 가져온 데를 제가 또 좀 만들어서 그래도 먼저도 이제 와도만 저라마요 와가지고 돈을 저라도 줘봐 주에다 봐 저거는 저기 반들은 저기 그거라 진짜 봐 같이 보통 동부했던 데를 어쨌든 이서 나면 가그 원에 서포트 마 박차들 니너제 봤다 송그지서 나와 말이 봐톱 나사에서 하다 공통 요구를 받아라 왕저를 롱고를 바까 빠진데서 봐요 노.
Being thus initiated, all defilements accumulated with speech and the habitual tendencies of grasping at them are purified, and you have received a complete speech empowerment. You are now empowered to recite the deity's secret mantra, the union of sound and emptiness. As a result, you are endowed with the fortune to accomplish the Sambhogakaya.
如此得灌顶故，一切因语所积聚之染污习气与执着，皆得清净。获得一切正觉之语加持，尽无余。得以念诵本尊深空不二之秘密心咒，并种下未来报生成就之种子。
来呀，突击的那个东东说话的方的一点做多节，真巴，公说说，大呢，罗拉，平东子，把握，多节，说本起，龙桥。定人，记者说。
Vajra holder, please think of me in order to benefit wayfaring beings, courageous Vajra master, please cause the samadhi of the Supreme Mind to arise.
金刚持，请垂见我。我为利益，有情故，永复金刚，阿舍离，令我升起无上定。
다 생불하만이 말하더니 론초대 하고 요러지 론초 가리 로탐전 초 시랍래 시랍 가리리 다당 속에 근데 너무 말인데 삼세에서 가가 시기 시랍 대래 이 시랍 대 랑근 오시 대로 공지성나 되게 랑도로 만들어 봤대게 랑석 톡그 요래 드리디 나디당 레손 나디당 레손 제 랑석 무섭 제 랑왕 효도요래 오늘 로토 샘군이 샘장마디 하고는 초장마기 이다 다 톡요래 초독박에 돼 쪽으로 다그 요말이 돼 샘장마디 하고 거지
So here we have just said the Supreme Mind. So that is how we, that is where we receive the freedom of the mind, and that is through the Supreme Mind. So what is that Supreme Mind? The Supreme Mind is the mind, the wisdom awareness, the wisdom mind. It is the discriminating awareness that can clearly discern between this is an affliction or this is love and compassion and so on. There is a clear knowing awareness that can clearly discern what arises. So that discerning awareness needs to be recognized. And once you recognize it, you need to habituate it. And if you habituate it, then you will be able to know what to do and what not to do unmistakenly. And in this way, you obtain the freedom or the self-control of the mind. On the other hand, if it is always mixed with self-grasping, you will lose all your control over the mind and will be controlled by the afflictions. So it is important to recognize the pure mind. That is the mind that you need to recognize. It is just like pure water, completely purified water. Within dirty water, there is nothing, it is murky, so you cannot recognize anything. So the mind that needs to be understood or recognized is this pure mind, that is like pure water.
那现在我们见到才提到说无上心，那是什么样的心？那就是获得自由的心，也就是那这个无上心是什么呢？也就是智慧心，它能够清楚了知分辨何者应做，何者不应做，能够清楚了知一切念头的升起，能够只认出它来，然后再加以串习。那这样子就自然会我们自己知道什么事是该做，什么事是不该做。那这样子就是我们自心的这个控制力就是增加，那同时也获到了自由。否则我们的心都是被我执所控制， 没有办法得到自由。我们的心其实原本就像一个纯净的水一般，只是我们现在受到染污，所以它就像一个染污水一样，不能见到任何的事。所以我们的心是原本是清净如纯水的。
头个破本子一来呀，头个那算把不把他几把子面了拉上着，那个说我说现在把他把他把他，其他人拉什么人啊，意思嘛，特别其他人就人啊，意思拉出个那么就没个东西，也没得就把么了，波浪人个大家这个人人家把用做这，这往东我住嘞，这个他sem tama te kawa yore de sem tama te sama le yore de sanji semji tamji jiti so lama na sin sanji som tigre de chong chong ro re si ti sem de kare le la wa ko yore de ta gom ja sem chata nam to mang bo thong gre ta ja na to ti khe no那到地方干忙吧嘛，这真把先东把东江南话都差了，我这样的这天气话有嘛，怕小话有嘛，这大家通这云了不光这脏嘛脏像差，这这个往中让头呢，变了牛吧，改进了，这牛吧人把哈好的，这牛的怕倒头个样的，这。장마 조금 삼지는 될 거요래. 장마 많이 바카리 난디는 될 들이 쳐도와 요마지 쳐다와 차대. 들이 대 담모하 거절래 라오래. 들이 다다 곰자 샘렀다. 내가 그 저밖에 다잡을 겁니다. 나도 제 제듯이 이 샘동바 동장대 대래 대 삼지는 될 들이 장마 장장 장장 장마 맞으나 다다 왕치다 요마리 요모 왕디 포도를 다른 데에
So the empowerment is an introduction to the mind. And so where actually is this completely pure mind? Actually all beings have that mind, this pure mind. All the Buddhas and all the sentient beings. Jigten Sumgön had said the mind of the Guru, the Buddha, and my own mind are actually one. They are one just like the string of a mala, a garland. And it is something that we can actually understand very easily right now. We should meditate and directly look at the mind. And when you look at the mind, you might think that there's many thoughts arising in the mind. And so therefore, I will ring the bell. When you hear this sound, in this instant, when the sound is heard, all thoughts come to an end. And then there is a moment when past thoughts have stopped and future thoughts have not yet arisen. And in this space between the thoughts, the mind is completely empty like space. And that is the mind that you should recognize. And that nature, this nature is always there. It never arises and it never ceases to be. And so first you see this nature, and then you habituate this seeing for a long time. And in this way, the mind becomes completely pure. And when the mind is completely pure, then you will finally obtain the freedom of the mind. So then that means that even if afflictions arise, mindfulness will recognize them and will be able to let them go, to shatter any kind of affliction that arises. But in order to really purify the mind completely, you need to cultivate, sustain a mind of love and compassion. If the mind is always somehow mixed with self-grasping, it will always remain a bit unclear, like a bit murky water. So first we need to recognize the completely pure mind. And that is something we can actually easily understand. When we directly look at the mind, So look at the mind, and when you see the mind habituate this state, sustain this state. So I will ring the bell, and the moment when you hear this sound, in an instant, in that moment, all thoughts stop. And when they stop, you come to the completely empty nature of the mind. So at that moment, recognize that this is it. This is the nature of the mind. And then the mind needs to be purified by always cultivating within that nature of the mind a mind of love and compassion. Then the mind will become completely pure. Otherwise, the mind will not become completely pure. If there is always some affliction, some self-grasping in the mind, you will not obtain a completely pure state of complete freedom of the mind. So now we will practice this by meditating for a little while.
灌顶是一种对心的介绍，自心的这种介绍。完全纯净的心，这个完全纯净的心，不但是所有的佛都有，一切的众生也都有。就如同过去吉天众公祖师所讲，上师之心、佛心及我心为一，这个就像佛珠串成一串一般，我们应该禅修，直视这个自己的本心。以此之故，我等一下会敲这个铃，你们听到铃声呢，一切念头止息放下，过去念止息了，未来的念，下一念还未生，中间的这阶段是心的本性，无生无灭。这样子的反复练习串习，能够找到这个完全纯净之心，得到心的自由。即使烦恼升起现前的时候，我们的正念就可以了知烦恼的现行跟升起，而能够让它舍弃它。这样子，我们如果想要得到心的自由的完全自由，我们应该要修习这个菩提这个慈悲心。如果心有所执的话，则好像不净之水，没有办法见到一切。所以我们首先应该这样子修，用这样子来关照自己的心，照见自己的心，体认出自己的心，然后知道心性的本性的状态是怎么样子的。等一下你们听到铃声的时候，一切念头止息放下，得见心的本性。心必须是要净化的，透过慈悲心而得净化，否则心不能完全清净的话，就没有办法得到完全的自由。
Game number in the Vertage, so Lama, Juvenile, the Pajian, and then Tachi some bout, you plumb over the Jones or Taji Lambeda, so that I use now. He just gone as a Batamapa chat and didn't give about that, took the Jesus now, Maliba talk. Same like took the round, you start talking to Yoga about Gombara, one, they were chucked about Capachin to say by no.
Being thus initiated, all defilements accumulated with mind and the habitual tendencies of grasping at them are purified, and you have received the complete mind empowerment. You are now empowered to cultivate the nature of the deity's mind, the union of clarity and emptiness. As a result, you are endowed with the fortune to accomplish the Dharmakaya.
如此得灌顶故，一切因意所积聚之染污习气与执着，皆得清净，获得一切正觉之意加持，得以禅修明空不二、明空双运之本尊心的本然境界，并种下未来正得法身成就之种子。
你sem sai thok ju ram bi sa tong ji sa sam ji sem de kare na si ta da dang su sa ri din o zhou da jiang ji o da jia song ji xing xing xi ba de sa ri de dong ji ji ge na do ji de mei ba tam tam na do che de na do ndou ma dou na do mei ba ga o da na do ji de ma dou ji ge ni sem dong ba dong jiang cha de 这三位上边东把东光上边是吧？啥东看嘛着吧？哦，啥东松就这啥个什么来着？什么来着？这，这看的那哈光的，这哈光咱不平个嘛？这是光的，这就前面把这种啦，那么多的你们没出街的，这种啦，这他们这个，这这头着我的，那多的些都不要的，光那些都不要的，把光都看不要的，
So it's said here the nature of the deity's of the deity's mind, which is a union of clarity and emptiness. So that is the nature of the mind, and people might wonder what actually is the deity. What's the deity's mind? It is this mind of clarity and emptiness. Clarity here refers to the clear knowing awareness. For example, when I ring the bell, there is an awareness that knows this sound. It heard the sound of the bell. It knows that there is this sound. It is this knowing awareness. So that's the clarity. And then emptiness is that at this point, when you hear this sound, all thoughts stop and the mind is completely empty. Sometimes it happens that there are no thoughts in the mind, but still there is an awareness that knows that there are no thoughts in the mind. It is completely empty, but you know it knows its empty nature. And that is because the nature of emptiness is clarity, and the nature of clarity is emptiness. And they are it is a union of clear, empty mind, and that is the actual nature of mind, or the mind of the deity. So it is already beneficial to just understand that, but we must also habituate that continuously. And whenever thoughts and afflictions arise, you should continue to remain within this state, sustain this state of clear awareness and emptiness. And this state of clear awareness and emptiness is like hot water. And when a thought arises, this hot water of awareness will immediately melt it. And so that is when you have habituated to it, when it is an ongoing state. If you have not habituated to this, then it will be difficult to let go of the thoughts that arise.
在这边我们提到本尊的这个本性就是明空双融的，这个就是心的本性。那有人或许会有疑问说，那本尊的心是什么呢？它是明空不二的。明指的就是清楚的觉知正念，就是你们在听到铃声的时候，可以非常清楚的听到这个铃声。空呢，就是知道在听到这个铃声的时候，一切念头都止息，一切为空。知道本心、本尊之心本来就是空的。那么 在这样子的空性跟这就是本尊之心，我们知道这样的道理，明性跟空性之后，应该要加以反复的练习，来加以串习，来能够保任，能够持续我们清楚清明的觉知。这种清明的觉知就好像热水一样，那热水一多，温度上升的时候，自然能够融化这个冰块。那么我们应该反复的练习来加以串习，要不然的话很难能够舍弃一些纷扰升起的这个念头。
他在这往头出来，往左探测的时候，探测就可以。他甚至只要是打破就是200个人，这两个两部连你中的，这刚头这个星期他们这300的星期。这甚至是打破就是200个人，这探测啥个出所的那就给全部人，这20日的你知道，他啥子这种嘛就当你啥种的这样的，这今年的因素是老多，说起来就会的，啥子啥子都都讲嘛就当你啥种的这。
So now we have received the empowerment, and in the end there is the samaya, which is the life force of the empowerment. And the actual samaya is a mind of love and compassion. And in order to protect one's love, we need to also cultivate patience. And that is something we need to practice, especially with those people that are around us, our company. And then we also extend it as well as we can to all other sentient beings. So the life force of the empowerment, the mind of the deity, is that samaya of love and compassion that should be protected with patience. So next we will repeat the samaya.
现在我们都收到灌顶了，接下来我们要讨论到受持灌顶之后的三昧耶是什么。那么这个都本尊的这个三昧耶是本尊的这个生命力，这个在这边的三昧耶指的是我们的慈悲心。为了要保护我们的这个慈心呢，我们同时也要修安忍，特别是对我们身边周遭的人，然后再慢慢扩大到一切的这个众生。这个灌顶的本尊的生命力就是慈悲心，那我们也要修习这个安忍跟耐性来这个支持我们的这个慈悲心。
Rinpoche said we will repeat the Samaya in English and Chinese. And also Rinpoche said that after you come up to receive the empowerment, then you are free to leave.
接下来我们要这三昧耶呢，要这个用中文跟英文念，念完之后你们上来这个接受灌顶之后，你们就可以自行离去。义工请准备。
Then please repeat. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas residing in the 10 directions, please think of me. Vajra Master, please think of me. From today onwards, until attaining the heart of enlightenment, I, who am called, and say your name, will take up the exalted deity, Ushnisha Vijaya, as my Idam deity, and will recite her mantra daily to whatever extent I am able.
十方一切诸佛菩萨，请垂见。上师请垂见。从今直至了悟正觉止， 我，然后讲你自己的名字，我郑建宏，誓言以佛顶尊胜佛母为我之本尊，我将每天尽力持诵其心咒。
And then also Rinpoche said you can come up this way and then kind of make a clockwise circumambulation around the mandala.
大家就依序听义工的指挥，然后依序的一行一行的上来，接受灌顶之后，可以顺时钟的绕坛本尊的坛城。So here we have the dedication list for those people who just offer mandala. Jenny Chen dedicate to 陈光恒、张明玉、柯静一、Mary Wang、林梅洲。Also the past 钱纯、陆以瑞、王雪坤。Gigi Lee dedicate to Jasper Yong Ho Lee、Albert Ko Ru Lee、杨秀凤、杨志远、袁运杰、袁志业、李先梅，以及王者杨金子珍、袁凤举、袁叶宝彩、李松平、杨基忠、袁根尧、袁运琪累劫是冤亲债主。Christine Chen 回向林志忠、陈长斌、杨光武、Garchen 仁波切，以及王者林晴环、Gary Hathaway。Catherine Strickland 回向 dedicate to William Leska Strickland, Alice Spalding, Pat Franklin, Christopher Franklin, Robin Bellow, Sota Trenny, Tony Pierrette, as well as the past deceased Edward Louis Bradsnor, William Leska Strickland, Dorothy Virginia Strickland, Grandma Alger, Grandfather Alger, Grandmother Strickland, Grandfather Strickland, as well as dedicate to Josué Saul Garcia, Kevin Holshower, and all sentient beings.
明天有参加尊胜佛母前供法会的人呢，准时要到。因为明天这个法会要先有受八戒，然后要吃素啊，过午不吃，这些都要跟那个牛奶一样，这个素是戒是左上受，要准时到是比较重要。
We have two very important announcements for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, if you are planning to come for the 1,000 offering accumulation, you should be here before 9 a.m. to receive the Sojong vow. It is very important that we will receive this in time. And then this Sojong vow, it's the 8 precepts that we usually observe during New Year, including no eggs the whole day. Also observe vegetarian diet, avoid all those garlic, onion, those things, and also skip dinner. So detail we will announce it tomorrow morning when you receive it. Also tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow's event is from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 2-hour break in between. So morning is 9 to noon, and then afternoon is 2 to 5. 明天早上除了早上9点之前到场来接受这个八关斋戒，包括不吃蛋、不吃五辛，然后不吃晚餐，其他的明天会讲解，一定要记得准时来。还有明天下午也有行程，所以明天整天的法会是早上9点到中午12点，然后午餐休息，下午2点开始到5点为止。
Om jana panye puten koroso. Om dare re mama 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 jana panye puten koroso. Om dare mama jana panye puten koroso. Om dare re 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 mama jana panye puten koroso.